Welcome back to Inside Club. And today we're talking about the meaning of delays, or I should say, the meaning we attach to delays. Stay tuned.
The first rule of Insight Club is you don't talk about Insight Club. You do Insight Club. The second rule of Insight Club is the only assumptions we make about one another are that we all want happiness and we all want to avoid suffering. The third rule of Insight Club is you check all your other assumptions at the door. We hope these conversations will bring you insights that incite you to action. Welcome to Insight Club. Welcome back to Insight Club. So our tagline is, you don't talk about Insight Club, you do Insight Club. And we have both been finding it a little challenging in the doing lately. So Lise, tell us more about how this topic is coming for you, this feeling of being delayed or things not clicking.
Yeah, so I have a tendency to, even though I am an astrologer, I have a tendency to check astrology only when I'm feeling there's something that is not in place. Because even though, of course, when I'm doing something that I want to know what's happening, it's different. But after a while checking the transits, you feel like I want to have a little bit of surprise as well, not just knowing everything. But lately everything has been so crazy that I thought, okay, I need to find a planet to blame because Mercury is no longer retrograde. And that's just a joke, right? Because every time that things go wrong and there's miscommunication, oh, Mercury is retrograde. Okay, that's what it is. But yeah, even though we were in the shadow of Mercury retrograde for a while, it's not retrograde anymore. And there are some things going on with the transits, and there are some things going on with the peak of the sun as well. So if you've been feeling even like physical symptoms, like weird dreams, not sleeping well, confusion, brain fog, questioning everything, all these things, it might be a little bit about the Schumann resonance, which peaked again because of the solar flares. And this is something that is happening continuously, but there are moments like the last few 3-4 days where it's really high, so you can't not feel it. And there's also big changes in the transit. So you mentioned Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, which are farthest planets in our solar system, are all in the beginning degrees of new signs, and they are even forming a connection between them in the sky right now. So we have big changes in the generation, right? Of course, we're going to feel something is off, something is odd, something is no longer the same way as it was. And in the case of Uranus, for example, which is a change every 7 years, it switched from Taurus, which is more stable and it's the values, the money, and so on. So we had a lot of big changes in values and possessions, money, and all of this in the last 7 years. And a lot of people felt their values shifting and so on. So now is a consolidation of that as well. Anyone who haven't thought about that in the previous years is probably now in this in between signs, thinking like, what are my values? What do I actually find its worth? And and it's shifting to Gemini, which is completely different to Taurus. All this mind accelerated, and Uranus is already super accelerated, the fastest, craziest planet, which goes all against the odds in the solar system. So it's a revolution in the way we communicate, is a revolution in the way we think, in all the innovations as well. And of course, our mind will be racing with this big change from Taurus to Gemini in this sign. And I remember Guru Jagat in these moments because Kundalini Yoga is meant to be the technology to help with our system to get along with the big, fast changes in technology as well. And I feel like we need that grounding more than ever to be able to access all of that without going crazy. And I'll let you talk about this a little bit before I talk about all the other plans.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective because that is a big shift, going from feeling my values and seeing what they are and them becoming more clear versus stepping into communicating about them and being, I think of Geminis, and I'm one is like Energizer Bunny, right? And you just go, 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 go. And yeah, okay, that's a big shift from the emergence for me, or like the values coming clear to me to the I'm putting them out into the world. And anytime there's a shift, a transition, doesn't it make sense that we want to slow down a little bit? And I had this, as you were saying that, I had this image in mind of trying to step onto an escalator, and the stairs are moving, and you have to time it right so that you're getting onto the next step, and you don't want to step in the crack, but you don't want it to be like too far away and you're doing the leap. So there's this feeling of you're entering into something new and you have to time it correctly, or a moving walkway, or people who can jump into jump ropes that are already moving. I could never do that. But there's like I'm getting into the rhythm of something new, and I've got to time it, and I've got to wait. Or even with music, I'm waiting to come in until they get to the beginning of the next measure or something like this. So there are all of these small moments where we understand that a delay is necessary to find the rhythm of the next thing. But it when you can't hear the music or you can't see the escalator going by, like, we forget there's a rhythm. But I find that really helpful. So thank you for grounding us in that context. And that's making sense about where our values are. I'm having that conversation with so many people lately. And in my world, it's really lighting me up because I'm hearing from so many people, I want to write just to write. Like their values are shifting, or maybe it's not even their values are shifting, but they're making more space for that to be the case. So instead of bowing to the pressure of, I have to write to get more clients, I have to write to build my business, I have to write to be more visible, I have to write to feed the algorithm of whatever social media platform, they're like, I just want to tell my stories. I just want to write. And that was the journey that I went through last year. And I called it a burnout. Maybe that's not a fair name for it. And I thought it was kind of a funny burnout because it didn't have some of the hallmarks of complete collapse that I associate with burnout. But really it was, I'm just no longer allowing myself to be forced into doing things. And so it really was like, it was maybe instead of thinking about burning it out, I could think about it was values forward. It was my values coming to the surface and going, no, we will no longer be ignored. And for me, it was the value of, I'm going to write to write. I'm going to honor my voice. And then in terms of the work I do, it was, I'm going to do what really lights me up. And I know there's a need for as well. It's not about ignoring everybody else and the fact that I live in a a commercially driven capitalist society. But within that context, like, what is it that I care about bringing to the marketplace? So I appreciate that. And then, yeah, I mean, the bringing it into first speech and then physical reality, that's a whole other thing. Like, no wonder I'm being delayed on it. And I don't want to rush it. I don't want to rush it. When I think about this being me really bringing my heart values into the world, I think it makes sense for that to take a little bit of time.
Yeah. I feel the same thing. I was even considering I have been having a little bit of a emotional burnout with all these changes, and like it's been a few years now that I feel like everything is changing every couple of months. But these last few weeks was not as profound, but a lot of changes at the same time, which made me really think like, what's the meaning of those delays? What's going on? And I, like I mentioned, there is this big not conjunction, conjuncture. Is this correct? Like a lot of things going on at the same time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, the values thing, I've been feeling the same thing with the, like you mentioned, the way we use our talents, right? Because there is this pressure of monetizing everything, and I've been just like you thinking like the expression, the art, the ability for us to transmute pain into beauty is not just about like what can I get from it in terms of how much money can I make from it. It is our innate ability as humans to create, to share what we have inside. And I've been very like torn with this feeling of, does it mean that if it's not making success or it's not making money, then there's no value? No, the value is in creating something, is in birthing ourselves as well through the process, right? So yeah, I had a lot of questions around that. And of course, as humans, we still need to live in the 3D. So there's this. Oh yeah, go ahead.
But it's a 3D reality that we co-create, right? And so this is something I've been thinking about lately, is if we agree within our microeconomies, then we can shift things, right? Like we can decide with the people we do business with to shift things. And there's a feeling I have of, I often feel like, oh, defeated, and I can't change it, and this is it, and I'm like caught in the machine. Meanwhile, I had to really come to terms with the fact that I was perpetuating it. Like I wasn't just in it and stuck, I was perpetuating it. And I hope that the way I was teaching people to write marketing content, I mean, I do believe I was doing it like teaching people to connect with their hearts. And that's the feedback I would get from clients, is they felt expressed, and they, marketing felt like an opportunity for them to connect with people and to help people and to serve. So I'm gonna give myself credit for that. But still, there was so much of it where I was like perpetuating the fast paced, it's got to be this, you got to do it, right? So even though I was focused on, I really want this to be, I mean, it has to be authentic in the sense that like you're giving something of value, and it, there are all of these markers for me. Otherwise I won't touch it. But still, like in these subtle ways. And it reminds me of when I first started being a writing coach, and I'd gone from being an elementary school teacher to being a writing coach. And all I wanted to do was teach kids one-on-one, here's how to write, here's how to express yourself. What do you want to write an essay on? And without realizing it, like the frog being slowly boiled, I got caught up in, the parents would go, oh, but he has this English test coming up and can you help him prepare to pass it, and so and before I knew it, I was like, wait a minute, I'm a cog in this machine I intentionally left because I didn't believe in stressing kids out that way. And I was like, I got sucked back. And even though I was like, yes, I'm teaching them to express themselves in their voice, I was like, oh, okay, I'm still part of that machine. And so maybe part of it is just asking ourselves not only what is the thing we're going to offer, but how are we offering it? And what's the energy of the offering? And if we can shift the energy of the offering, I think that's hugely positively disruptive to the big machine we're in.
And for what?
Like
For
the reason
what?
why?
Yeah, what's the purpose of what we're doing?
Yeah.
Because you can, for example, teach how to write, but what's the purpose of that? Because if we have that clear, I feel it's much easier to go with that. Like, I'm doing this for this.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I'm doing this. Because if the reason doesn't make sense to us, there will be misalignment, and that's what I'm feeling. Like, maybe the delays also happen when there's something even small that is misaligned. I remember we talked about that a while ago, and I used the analogy about the baseline. If the base is a little bit off, there's that thing that you can't really notice because it's so low that it's off, but it's not sitting quite right.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, we feel like, but everything made sense. Yeah, but there's this little thing that is going underneath that is throwing everything off.
Yeah. So the delay can be are you sure? I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I'm in the process of creating something new, and I was feeling the energy of being like not excited to work on it. And so the first thing I did this morning before trying to get any practical steps done on it was to just sit and journal. Like, what's the hiccup here? And it became clear really immediately, which was I was falling into a pattern of I have to throw more resources at people. Like, in order for this to be valuable, it has to be like, and there's this, and I went, stop. Okay, when you teach this, because I'm taking something that I teach live and putting it into a container where people can do it at their own pace. And so I was like, what makes this effective when I do it live? And I was like, oh, it's pretty simple. Like, we do this so people are in the right mindset to do this, and then they can practice. And then, it's like, okay, do that as opposed to getting sucked into the energy of more is better. But if I just have more PDFs and more videos, then it's like, no, that's actually more overwhelming. Where I live is on the way to Burning Man. And so this time of year, there's like a lot of people coming through on their way to Burning Man. And we were chatting with a friend recently, and it was very interesting. I've only been to Burning Man once. And what brought me was the incredible art. We were at a party in a big warehouse, and some of the art that had been on the playa was there. And I was like, this is just absolutely incredible. Like, we gotta check this out. And so we were talking to somebody about it, and he said, well, what's the deal? Because people couldn't just be pouring all that time and money and energy into creating that stuff and not getting anything from it. Right. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. I mean, what they're getting from it is the satisfaction of expression of going like, oh, do you think we could make a dinosaur that has a mechanism that makes it roar? Like, these are people who are delighted by bringing a vision like that into 3D reality. Like, they're getting a lot from it. But it was just interesting to hear that perspective, because it was like lack of ability to imagine anything outside of economic remuneration.
Yeah.
Not to mention the satisfaction people get just from connecting, right? Like that feeling of, oh, human to human, we're connecting without the artifice of money changing hands. Like, that's that's a big value as well. But I was like, oh yeah, we're so steeped in the only value can be money changing hands that somebody was like stymied by, how could you invest so much time and energy and money in doing that, not get anything back?
And that actually sparked something for me as well, because one of the things that got delayed and canceled and so on, there was this, it started off as something very exciting, and I knew my purpose in this, uh which was sharing my story and uh my dad's story as well. And there was something around um, the money that would be spent and finding partnerships for people to raise money for the event and so on. And mm, the thing that for me felt off wasn't actually doing it, because I felt like, okay, if I can show the value of what we're offering with this, that's good. And one of the friends had this idea of bringing that for free for the groups that would be most benefited about uh, about that. Um, but there was a little bit of that conversation around like how much money would be possible to make, and not losing money with that. And I didn't put things together until now that that was a little bit off for me, at least, because I felt like, yeah, we're trying to make this pay itself, but what if it doesn't? If it doesn't, is it okay because we're still bringing value? Or if the monetary value isn't there, then it's not good. For me, it would be good anyway.
Yeah.
But when there's partnerships, I feel like these misalignments might be bringing delays, which maybe are not, there are things that are not meant to be if it's misaligned, and maybe things will fall more apart if it's misaligned.
That feels so cool to hear, because to me it means our sensitivity is growing to the subtle energies of the how and the why we're doing the thing. And so something could, like this was, it's like, oh, I like the content of that. I like the thing we're going to be doing. But if the way we're going to be doing it has like some baggage, has some like, no thanks, that's not for me kind of energy, then we're getting delayed more and more. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm more, I mean, in some ways more dormant, but I think it comes from being more discerning. And I also, I was mentioning this to you off air. I think my yes is becoming more subtle. So in some ways, I feel like I'm kind of blah, or wow, I'm not really excited about things. But it's because I've come into a calmer place in my system where I'm no longer having like the high of, oh, I gotta do this and get really, really excited, only then a few weeks later to, lose the initial excitement but be stuck in the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I've really been able not to get sucked into, and I'm just talking about with my own ideas. These aren't even collaborations with other people, but like in my own ideas, something will come across my screen and I'll go, oh yes, that I should do that, and chase after it. And I've built several things where it's like, I got really excited, ran them for about a year. And then a year in, I was like, whoa, I am totally drained. And this is no longer lighting me up. And, in part, it could just be down to like the how I'm delivering it. It's not necessarily the what, but it's like, oh, the way I set this up, my energy was focused on something and I can't have that energy focus anymore. So I'm feeling the delay, which in part is maybe from discernment. And also I think it's less peak excitement and more just
Clarity.
grounded knowing. But
Yeah.
it makes it seem like life is a little bit less thrilling than it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Well, with my own things, I've been delaying quite a lot as well. Like I had some moments of clarity where I felt like this is something that I want to do, and then I feel like, but I still feel like I'm kind of cocooning, and there are some things that I need to get more clear until I do them. And at the same time, there's a part of me that is like, come on, ladies, just go and do something. And it's kind of like an inner battle. And I want to bring this up because there's two more things that are going on other than Uranus. So I mentioned that we had um, Uranus going to Gemini. We have Pluto going to Aquarius, which is really interesting and subtle energy in here for us as well because Aquarius is about the collective. It is about the technology as well. It is the sign ruled by Uranus. So there's all this community collaboration, but also the all the technology that's going on. And Pluto is the shadow. So Pluto is making us look to the shadow of technology, including AI, look to the shadow of the collective and the social things, look to the shadow of um, the old society structures.
Yeah. Isn't Pluto also power and money?
Yes. So there's all the power and money involved in all of these things that I just mentioned as well. So you can see how this is playing out already, right? And bringing a lot of questions.
Yeah. It feels exciting.
Yeah.
And then, but I think you touched on something that we have to acknowledge if we're going to ride through this transition without just beating ourselves up, right? Because you mentioned the voice that's like, "Come on, Lise, shouldn't we do something by now?" And I've been having that feeling as well. It's like, oh, I'm still in like it's some kind of in between mode. Like I'm still in some kind of stasis, I feel like. And so the expectation, the meaning we put on delays, right, is so often is, oh, I'm not being brave enough, or I'm being lazy, or I'm just procrastinating. So like the meaning of the delay can like maybe even make the delay longer if we sit there beating ourselves up, or
Yeah.
I should be doing something by now, because as we've said, the the delays are coming from a place of like, I'm not going to do this with the old energy. And I'm seeing that theme in so many places, and I just love it. Like it's coming up in my work and the people I work with so much, this feeling of we're not going to take the new thing and put it in the old container.
Yes.
Like, oh, I've just went and bought all this amazing organic produce at the farmer's market, and I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator that hasn't been cleaned out, that's full of mold. It's like, nope, we're not doing that.
I love that you're bringing this because if we look at this change of Pluto in Aquarius now as well, as not the looking at outside as our inner structures.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, this will bring the shadow of our old structures inside ourselves, our old uh, thoughts about community, our old thoughts about um, even technology, the power struggles within these dynamics in groups as well, which is not just society in general, but how we relate with not only the people around us, but also the voices in our own mind.
Yeah.
Our collective unconscious, I could say.
Yeah.
And we have Neptune in Aries, which is another. Neptune was in Pisces for a long time, and Pisces is its own sign. So it was a little bit more in a dreamy state, and like dreaming its dream, like all kind of in its place. Spirituality evolved quite a lot during this time. Neptune is the planet that talks about spirituality, but also that fog, the delays as well. So it's all related. And it is in Aries now, which is a go 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 sign. So this is really opposing energies. It's like the energy of I just want to soften and dream, and I'm not seeing what's ahead, and I'm just staying here. And in the sign that is like, but we need to do something with that. So yes, there is this alive spirituality in this moment, but also a lot of uh friction, which makes us have to uh, allow ourselves to look within and have a vision of the future inside before moving forward, and being okay with taking the next steps without seeing anything in front of us.
How do we do that?
Blind faith, I would say.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of
really blind faith. It's like that faith of a visionary who can see the thing with inside already, but even though the world might be all saying no, like you're having so much clarity of what you're seeing inside of you that you can do this even if everything else is saying no. And I'm coming at this as we're speaking here. It's not something that I had thought about yet, but the thing that comes to me is that maybe the delay is because we've been so much looking outside and what other people are doing, and we need to go faster because AI is evolving, and uh, the people in the same industry are doing this, so we need to do that. Or and the world is moving fast and we're looking at our screens and likes and scrolling and all of this, and actually we need to look within so that we can see ahead from a different perspective.
Yeah, it occurs to me that like one way of moving forward is I'm focused on the outcome I want to create. And that does, like, if you can't see the outcome, that does take a heck of a lot of faith. But another way to move forward is to have faith in the process.
Yeah.
So just knowing, Grady and I went for a hike on Wednesday, and the older I get, the lower I put my center of gravity when I'm hiking. Like, we're going over rocks and stuff, and I'm just, straight up scooting along on my bum. I mean, I'm like, I don't need to prove anything. I'm not going to be up here and, risk falling. And, there are moments where it wasn't like I couldn't see beyond where I was or something, but I only focus on that rock looks stable. Okay, I'm going to shift my weight here to here. And like that for me is also an effective, very slow, but also an effective way to get somewhere where it's not about what's outside. Cause then, it's like there are multiple ways I could get to, the top of this rock pile, but I'm simply focused on what does it feel like to take a step I trust. And to do it in a really slow, deliberate way. Like, Grady's already up, and I'm like, okay, over here and over here and over here. But that's, to me, what feels good, because I don't feel I'm at risk or in danger or something, and I still get to this beautiful vista point. But that also feels aligned to me with like paying more, or maybe it's just the same amount of attention to how I do the thing and why I'm doing the thing, as to the what I'm doing. So if we're entering this era of the how and the form and the energy of it being paramount, I am so here for it. And I was even thinking about, so I asked Grady, I was like, how do you deal with stress at work? Right? It's like things that happen that are beyond your control and all of this. And he said, he works in sales, and he said, every day I have an opportunity to connect with people. So like whether it's a smooth transaction and I'm selling them something, or they're upset for some reason, you know, like, oh, the delivery didn't come when it was supposed to. He's like, every day I have an opportunity to connect. And I was so struck by that because, you know, it puts the emphasis on, regardless of what you're doing, you can do it with the energy of love, and you can do it with the energy of the intention to connect. And I was like, that's funny. And I can lose sight of that, even though the thing I'm doing with building ways for people to write and create connection is about that. Yeah. But I often lose sight of that when it comes to just the working day, you know. And it made me think of this sketch comedy show I saw years ago. I don't remember what show it was, but they had like, what if Buddha were playing Grand Theft Auto? You know, which is like this video game where you carjack people and murder them, and you know, it's like a huge violence. And I think it was Danny Pudi, the actor who was playing Buddha, and he's playing Grand Theft Auto, and he was just like doing it like Buddha, where he's like, oh, interesting, oh, okay, you know, just with curiosity, with love, with an open heart. And I thought it was so brilliant because I don't know if that was the intention of the show, but like anything can be done with an intention of love, connection, curiosity. And then in that case, like playing an incredibly violent video game might be a more loving act than, I don't know, teaching yoga if you're doing it from a place of anger or resentment.
Yeah. Wow. I'm imagining that. No. That's crazy.
Yeah. But does that resonate with you, that the idea, like maybe we're moving into an era where the why is superseding the what, and that like the why and the how?
Yes. The why and the how. Yes. That definitely resonate. And maybe that's what's going to forge ahead who's going to be creating these new structures of community as well, right? Because we've been a lot in that structure of, we connect with the people who are around us in this city, for example, right? Then the internet came and all of these communities around interest, which broke that already. Now we can find people who are like us anywhere in the world. But now there's breaks coming again, and maybe it's not even just that. Maybe it's really about frequency and who really is aligned with you and are not just in, oh, I'm interested in the same thing, but are we interested in doing this for the same reason? Yeah. Are we into this with the same ways of doing things? Right?
Yeah, with the same energy. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of possible connection to be made. There's I think a fear moment to get over where we say, oh, I'm not going to do things in the same way if I feel that doesn't align. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it's not an against thing. It's not like oh, your way is terrible. But it's like that honest recognition in ourselves of, oh, this still doesn't feel right. This still doesn't feel right. Oh, it's because I'm doing it out of a fear of missing out, or I'm doing it because I'm worried if I don't, I'll be irrelevant. I'm doing it because this is what people told me I have to do in order to be marketable, like all of those things. And I feel like it takes an immense amount of courage to let go those reasons. And externally, maybe you don't even change what you're doing. Maybe your work and like what you're doing in the world stays largely the same. But that shift coming into, I'm doing this for me, that was really part of the big shift I had last year, was the realization I was running my entire business out of a fear of failure. And I was like, whoa, this is exhausting. And P.S., I was also failing. I mean, like I was terrified of being like a financial failure. And I was like, wait, I am a financial failure, but I'm also terrified all the time. Like, it was such heavy energy to carry. And so for me, it wasn't that hard to be like, what if I just surrender to this? Like, it's already true. Why waste the energy, being fearful of it? It's already here. But that shifted things for me so much to go, I'm gonna stop putting the pressure on myself to perform, to look a certain way to other people, and just be more transparent. Like, yeah, I don't really have a lot going on in the finances department. Like, that's what's true. That's what's happening. And now it's like integrating. There's still a lot of integration to do. Like, okay, how do I live in this context, that has certain parameters and rules. But man, the freedom of no longer running on fear was huge. The running on fear was way more uncomfortable than the budget is really tight. And there's just, like right now for me, it's summer and it's all the summer fruits. And I'm like, my desire would just be to go to the farmer's market and without any thought about cost, just like buy up all the peaches and buy up all the tomatoes and I'm like, okay, that's not the reality right now, but that's okay. That's a way lesser weight than the weight of, trying to do things to keep up an appearance or to be in fear.
Yeah, I completely resonate. I don't know if I shared with you, but my business has been a lot slower, especially this year. And yet I have no energy in me pushing to just do the thing that is going to bring the most money now.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not clear on this is the thing that is meaningful, I'm not doing
it. Yeah. That's how I feel. It's amazing. It's that feels like freedom to me.
Yeah. And then what do we do with all this freedom?
Well, right. Yeah, for me, it's learning to create slowly and intentionally so that the things I'm building are imbued with the energy I want to live with. Because the things that I build out of, even though there's excitement there, the things that I build out of expectation of, this is what will finally make me a worthwhile person, this will finally bring in the money, this will finally give me the recognition, this will, like, anything I've built that way, it ends up exhausting me.
Yes.
And then I have to let it go anyway.
That's exactly the thing that is underneath and keeping me from, you said it perfectly, because we talked about that energy underneath. I've burned out multiple times doing the thing that would bring the most money, and it brought the most money, but also brought a lot of stress and frustration and feeling like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. So it is kind of an existential crisis paired with freedom, I would say.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the thing with the delay. It's what we get when we have that conscious awakening of, I'm not playing this game anymore.
Yeah. And I do think there is 100% a marketplace for that energy, and people who are feeling it. We don't all go through the same transformations at the same time. So, like, the old economy is going to continue to run on top. Like, they're just going to be layers, right? It's not all coming apart at once. Although it'd be interesting to see how long some things last. Like, when fast food is the price of what it used to be to like go eat in an actual restaurant with actual food. I'm like, oh, I wonder how. I'm fascinated by the fact that Starbucks has had to start advertising. Like they're losing money. They're losing their customer base because people are like, oh, wait a minute, $10 for a latte? Maybe maybe that's not aligned with my values. So, but that's a whole side note. But I think that there's going to be such a pull for other people who are feeling, I don't want to do it if it's in the energy that doesn't feel aligned. And so anybody who has the courage to make the break with whatever patterns for them no longer feel aligned, they're going to become really magnetic and really like we're going to be seeing beacons. And I am here for it, you know. So instead of the beacon being like even anything they're saying in words or any promises they're making, it will just be like, whoa, I feel that person's integrity. I feel that person like so in alignment with themselves. And that's so, and like their why and my why are aligned, and their how and my how are aligned. There's, I think we're gonna, as you're saying, start forming new
Yes.
new communities around that. And that, I mean, that's hecka exciting. So anybody who's feeling those delays, you know, here's an invitation, do the check-in. Like, is this about not wanting to do things in the old way, whatever that way is for you? Like, you know, is this about, I want to express myself just to express myself? Is it, I want to do this in the world because, you know, here's what my heart says, as opposed to anything that other people have told me is the way I have to do this or the reason I have to do this. That's my big insight, that we're leading change in being in these delays.
I feel that that's it. And one big insight that came for me was, along with side of that, was that we, instead of running against the machine because everything is so fast and so crazy, and trying to reach the velocity of AI, which it's impossible for humans, we need to slow down and look to the only thing that AI doesn't have, which is inside our souls.
Yeah.
Maybe the delay is actually calling us to look to that inner celestial alignment.
You just gave me a massive insight in that moment, which is when we do that, we jump to the finish line.
Yes.
We are already there. So as soon as we shift into that energy of moving from a sense of freedom and alignment with whatever is our value, whatever is our biggest value, we already got there.
Yes. Just like athletes visualize the finish line and the goal, whatever it is that they need to do,
Yeah,
before actually going to the match. That's the work.
Yeah, I was even thinking it more in terms of like, you know, when people tell us, you know, if you want something from a feeling of you don't have it, then the getting of it doesn't, you know, give you that feeling of it, versus the looking around the world and being like, wow, look at this abundance I have. And then something else comes into your life and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But that feels optional, right? As soon as you shift into the gratitude, you already have the thing that you want, which was the feeling you wanted, but you attached to the thing, thinking the thing would give it to you. But we know that again and again this happens. Like people get the thing and they're like, oh no, it must have been that other thing. Because this thing's not doing it for me. But it's instantaneous. Like when the energy shifts into I want what I have and I have what I want.
Yeah.
Instantaneously you get the goal.
Yeah.
So welcome delays.
Welcome, delays.
What do you have to teach me? I'm going to slow down and listen.
Yeah. I'd savor the delays.
Savor the delay. I love it. It's a perfect note to end on.
Right. So until next time, savor the delays and let us know what came for you.
Take care.
Take care.